All right, again, I'm going to just pick up where I left off and go from there in the next text here. What I've got is this group here meshing with the group below. As you can see, I needed to change this when I was reading it, so I guess that doesn't mean much as far as any big editing. And then this text here is going to be meshed with the text, below here into this group. And you can see I'm adding a lot of verses without editing them, which kind of makes me wonder if they didn't actually have some of these, then divide them out to use in other books, or at least to use them to start with. The green text, like I said, I'm adding. The blue is I'm removing. So here I'm removing a lot of the blue, or words that aren't needed, I guess, because this seat is going to be mentioned later, because there's two stories, and to combine them into one, where Pilate's going to, or where Pontius is going to send them to Herod, the other governor, and then he's going to come back. So needed to add that. Because otherwise he was being beaten two different places, I guess. So when you scan through the text, you'll see that's the reason, not needing this part of this one and not needing that part of that one, and getting rid of both of those. Because like I said, these two stories are combined. A lot of text is going to be doubled up later. And now, this was text needed to be meshed above. The other ones were to be below, and this one was to be above. And don't see much being taken out there. This has to be a group down here below, mesh with above. So let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty much just removing the verses, except for right here, hewed into the hillside. Now this is the most correct text there, because they had people complaining that there's a new tomb being made, and they don't understand that it's actually tombs in the person they're laying on it. That platform is called a tomb, and then they're going to have multiple of them, so it's going to be tombs. But the object is it's hewed into the hillside, which makes this a clue to where they were actually crucifying people would have been next to a graveyard. And actually, the Hebrew text reveals that as you ascend into Jerusalem, there's going to be this place that's going to be along the side of this hill that they've got, is to where there's going to be a graveyard. So just to let you know that it was to where they could witness many things, such as the roof falling in on the house. So when the earth shook, let's see here, as is, this seems to be 8 point, meaning that, okay, yes, we'll mesh this stuff with below. I mesh this stuff with above. So let's see. No. Didn't need the verses that I'm meshing with here. Got rid of this because this is something that's going to happen later now that the stories are combined. The rolled away. And this is the closing of the tombs. They needed to get it in and out. So I think later I described the roller as a wooden roller, because it wouldn't have been carved out of stone. That would have been too much to to people to be able to go back and forth. They use these um, probably for centuries. This one tombs. So um, let's see. I'm moving the text from here where it was in line, and then I'm going to move it up here and then get rid of it. So that's what's going on here. I needed to add this word here to make sure that that's uh, being understood, because it's going to break on the story. So I needed to have the angel still say he's not here. And this is the story. And then these are not needed anymore here. And it was their officers that went back and reported. So the story pretty good there. Now this is going to be meshed with the below text. And you can see that I'm getting rid of these and this one from Matthew. Getting rid of one part of Matthew and then getting rid of 2 verses here because it's no longer needed. It would have been a break in the story. So to continue the story from words to the next is this way. So when I say sometimes it was actually a story and what they did was divided it to create 2 stories, this is what they would have done just to add it and break the text in 2, or the story in 2. And that doesn't need to be explained why I'm taking out. This here text is as is. So, and then we're at the end of the text. So here's this text that's still left that I didn't put in to the story to have it or found parts for it. I didn't place them yet. Now I need to get to, I got it marked as 4. This is 3. Hold on. So let me get rid of some of these that I've got open. That one. Oops, I need to save what I've done. Yeah, I still might need those. So we're going to get started. And this is Matthew and Luke and Matthew cleaned up. So I'll be able to go over this. And what I did was took all the yellowing off the text. I did start adding notes. You might have seen them, that I'm going to be placing maps and things. So when I'm reading them, I'm starting to do that as well. Let's see here. Let me go through here and see if there's anything. And I believe those are carried over from the editing is what I'm looking for. Yeah, I'm still carrying over the editing now that it's needed. Yeah, and I'm also starting to put in more of these breaks to show the difference of the stories completely. So that started happening when I reviewed the text here. And now John's baptizing was the old one that I had there, but now you see I put in another one above it. Like I need that many spaces here. Yep. So this text here, when you see it as a PDF, this is what I'm going to be meshing in next time with Matthew. So this was just cleaned up and keeping with some of the editing that I've carried over from putting these two together. And like I said, I remember I didn't keep Luke's editing, that's an error on my side, so that's gonna make you have a little bit of a harder time to figure out what's going on. So here, that's all that's gonna be for this text, because I'm gonna go straight down the bottom and see if I did in the here start trying to locate some of this text that I had put down at the bottom. No, it doesn't look like I'm working with this yet. Okay, so on to number 5. This is Mark's editing when I cleaned it up. So I've got them divided into groups this way. And I didn't put the lines in. What I did, because when I went through and I divided it by stories, I realized that I'm not going to be able to put one group here, one group there. It was just easier to do it, notify it this way. So when you see the next text, I believe I didn't add those into the text. So here I'm reviewing and putting in Mark's edits that I want to go over. And if I do this right, I should be able to get through the end of this. I erased it and needs adding as is. Okay, I'll have to check on that, but here I'm starting to change the words from his holy breath to words, because it's actually words that they heard. So pretty much this one is just going to have a lot of the Matthews editing, and I'm pretty sure this is where I kept all this editing. But I'm going to have to look, because I don't see anything that's really important that I need to go over. But each of these are going to be made into a PDF. Okay, here's one. The groom is not to be mourned. It's the king that's going to be mourned. Because they're talking about John's disciples not being mourned, or Jesus' disciples weren't mourning for John. And Jesus would not be telling about a groom that dies, that there's going to be a mourning because he's getting married. So that's not the object here. I'm going to change the word from groom to king, because if you're king, then everybody's going to mourn, and that's pretty much what's going to happen with the text, or way I want the text to read now. So yes, I did put my influence on that word, because if you can explain, make sure you make the comment. And at the beginning of each of these, I have how you're to notify to get a hold of me real quick. So when I open up what everybody's texting to me, I can glance through, and when I see those words being mentioned, because the first words are mentioned, that's a quick way for me to scan them and get to see what you're saying, and try to see if, yes, I understand what you're saying, and I do need to correct that. House is referring to a family, so I made it family. And again, the words were about words, that is breath. This just come out because it's already being mentioned once, so it doesn't need to be actually said again, just a little bit differently. So, and I added the words pretending to be asleep, because if the boat is rocking that much and they're taking it. There's no way that that person can be sleeping. So you had to be pretending to be asleep. And because I'm influencing it, I'm making sure that that text remains gray as it's going forward. And it wouldn't be fearful, but worried is a better word. Not faith, but trust, being with me, meaning that when they're around Jesus, they should already understood by all the things that are happening before, because they had already seen them and made them know that he was their king that has been promised. So they were not to be worried, and you have no trust being with me, meaning that if they, pretty much that they should have tried to command the waves to stop doing, or the wind to obey him. Wind and lake obeyed him. This might be changed to water later, not sure. Don't need that. Needed to add those. That's not much. This has already been said, what's going on in the story. Accompanied, I'm just breaking it down simpler wording. Endured, but really it needs to be suffered much pain by the doctor. This was that woman that has no white cells to coagulate, healing after even a small scratch. So, and this was the story that's going to be meshed about the official or the attendant, not the official. So, the lowest person from the synagogue. Laid to lay is the way that I'm going to edit that. These are not all that hard to see what needs to be added in or out. Now here I'm changing 2 to 800 silver of food. When we're looking through the story, there might be 2 sizes of silver. One that would match a day's work, and maybe another one to be a half day's work. But still, even if it's a day's work, there would have been a lot of money for at a silver for food. So don't need 200, just need 800. And then this is going to be the story where he's picking up, are going to feed the multitude again with fish, and this is going to be the second story or the first story. I can't remember which one this combined, but what I did was I had changed it once to, or it says baskets, but the disciples didn't have baskets, and they were out walking when they were doing this, so nobody else would have been carrying baskets either, but they would have had like a sack or a bag where they kept their things in for them to live by, and probably other things were kept in that bag. So I'm going to use, they kind of emptied out what they had there, and then they used these bags that they had, or their sacks. I haven't decided whether the word's going to be bag or sacks. By the story going here, I know it's going to be this city, then this city. So I corrected that. Region Jordan. I think I just, it seemed like I added the word here. Remember when I was telling you about sometimes the word was just, this would have been one of the first beginning videos of gathering them together, combining them, that I had 3 words highlighted as region. I want to make sure they were each region. Well, I've kind of changed my mind that now I can say what they are and just say, okay, just put that region down. I know what region it is. So instead of just leaving it to the region and then people having to understand it, I put that word in to make sure. Jesus knows that the word day means night and daylight, to be a day. So it has to be during the daylight. And see, I've got the word in a basket here, so that's got to be changed later. Here I made it diviners because of the way the stories are going to go. The judge wouldn't ask this, but diviners would say, seek a sign in the stars. So it has to be a diviner. I don't know why those are left italic. There's not too much to me edited there. This here, is just being removed because he's talking about making three. This says tabernacles, but it's actually, they're not going to be statutes either. They're going to be markers. They could have been statutes, but the object is this text doesn't need to be put in ever. So I just pretty much know that wouldn't have been said at that time, or I will say that I'm removing this and I don't care for that to be in the text. It makes no sense. I'm trying to, okay. Now here, when I'm making this disciple of Judas, again, just in case you haven't seen the other videos when I explained why I'm doing this, Judas has to have a reason why he's being rejected a lot of times, to where he has the will to say, I'm going to betray him. That Jesus keeps telling different things that he's thinking that he should do, but he's, like the children and Jews, is stopping them, and then he's kind of teaching them not to do that. But when you see how many times that I'm adding Judas into this, then we now have Judas having, because we don't know why he betrayed him. There's no text for that. So by showing this, Jesus is embarrassing in front of everybody, telling, don't do this, don't do that, from time to time. This would have bothered Judas, that Jesus is always picking on him. So they can enter, not be saved, that they're entering into heaven. They aren't saved. The saved is to, I have that affiliated with being alive. So and we're talking about entering into heaven, is the reason I'm using that. Don't need this. That's been mentioned other places. Here I realized that I could get rid of this verse by saying, as they were going, and then I added the words lined the road, because the crowd, then the story reads better. Without these words here, it's not as good. And just to add, as they were, meaning the disciples and a crowd. So they means them, and down here I have the word crowd, so could get rid of this first verse. Here I switched the order of the story, so it's Bethpage, Betha, and Bethany went with. This would have been small boy, so I'm switching them here because they had to get to Bethpage first, or no, second. So they had to go to Bethany first and then Bethpage. Not, by the way, Bethpage and then Bethany. Bethany. Anyways, maybe I'm still saying that wrong. I'm going to continue. I'm trying to race through this a little bit. Someone, I made sure it was the owner of this colt that he's going to get here. Again, I'm getting rid of this verse here by saying I can use the word leafy to leaves. And then I've added and grass, and the people weren't tossing. Now they're kind of throwing it out. Well, tossing is overhand. Throwing is maybe overhand, but I'm thinking whatever, this other word, I'll probably decide later which one is the best used. Um, and then these are just adding or shortening things up. Here is what I was talking about before. Their wickedness, because if you're doing evil, you wouldn't be asking to know how to pray uh, to our Creator. Um, don't make these words here. And let me get here to pull this down. And I don't know how many times I keep seeing those red marks over here, so they're gone now. Yeah, this isn't needed. It's just extra text stuck in that's not needed. And here, put 2 coins. Now, were they copper or not? I don't know. All I know is that when it comes down to the size of the money, look, everything that was dug up about the Roman information that we have, it didn't start until 700 years after Rome has been completely destroyed before they started going back and looking into the records and what they're digging up. So there's no really, and I know they're finding coins, and I'm sure they found copper coins, but there's no really way to tell us how much those coins were valued and how much they valued to each other. So, like now we have in the United States, we have things that are called pennies, which are very the cheapest part. Say if a value of 1 to 100, they're the one, and then 10 of them we got as a dime, 25 and we use a quarter, and then the 50-cent piece would be 50, and then when it gets to it, the 100 we call that a dollar today. So the thing here is um, I wanted to get rid of the word copper here because when I'm saying coins, 2 coins, I'm I'm still thinking that there's just different sizes of the silver being stamped, or the symbols on it means the difference of the coins. But I really don't care what um, the secular world has found to say that no, they all meant one size. They meant it. Well, in the story here, you just have to understand that these coins that she was putting in was of the smaller value of the coins, but it was what she could afford. But it was funny because she was that poor. Um, this doesn't need to be added farthest into the earth that is needed. These words are not needed. Here's where she's going to pour the vial of perfume on his head. So like I said, the stories you're going to see are going to be meshed together with already meshed stories. So nothing is final text until I get down to the very end and pick the best that I reasonably can. Needed the word in heaven to finish this because all of a sudden the priest is starting to realize that he's starting to believe like what they're supposed to believe, but he, uh, he wants him to commit that he is, but Jesus doesn't answer, or no, he does answer him. I have him answering him. Don't think that was in the original text. But here he swore he did not know him. Um, then these were needed. According to the story, I'm adding these to refresh the text to make it more reasonable. And I don't know what to do with this text yet. Whether because it says they take him to be crucified and the soldiers took him to be beaten. So it's kind of like, do these really belong here or later? Um, let's see. See, this is 15 going to 16, so to be taken to be crucified, and then they turn around, they beat at what time? Because they all, then they crucified him here. So, and then I'm getting rid of Joseph as this stranger. I'm saying it's his father. The text is still has his father alive when he starts his journey. So he didn't, there's no verse saying that he died. So we don't need the word Joseph to be a stranger. It would have been when he could have approached Pontius, he would have said, I'm the father of the one that you just crucified. And then he would have accepted him as there. Because a total stranger, he's not part of the family, then what are you going to do? Are you going to bury him someplace else? So it should have been from the family had to uh, um, get permission. I just don't, a stranger just is not going to happen that way. And also, this also puts his father there witnessing everything because he would have had to been at the celebration for the Passover because he'd done it all his life. So, um, I don't need end week here. So the first day of our year, um, that after the sun has risen, they came to the tomb. Okay, I'm switching these words around, is what's happened here. So just bringing that to the end, it reads easier. And that will be the end of Matthew, being added. So I'm going to have to say that this is going to be the end of this video because I didn't expect to put this into the text and get through the editing of Mark. But I did, it was more or less unexpected, but got it done.